Kia ora, it's Mrs. Goodson here, and this video is about naming alkanes. So the aim is to learn how to name straight chain and branch chain alkanes according to IUPAC rules. Alkanes are organic compounds that contain only carbon and hydrogen and only have carbon-carbon single bonds. We're going to be using the molecular and the structural formula. The molecular formula tells us about the type and the number of atoms present in the molecule, whereas the structural formula shows how the atoms are joined together. So this is the structural formula of methane. This is an example of a molecular formula of propane, and this is the full structural formula of propane. A condensed structural formula is often used, especially for large molecules. So then we just write CH3, CH2, etc. And that doesn't take up as much space as the expanded structural formula. So these are the names that we use for naming alkanes. So we've got, for 1 carbon, it's meth, for 2, eth, 3, prop, 4, bute, 5, pent, like a pentagon, 6 is hex, like a hexagon, 7 is hept, and 8 is oct, like an octopus. So you need to learn these names, 1 to 8 for level 2 chemistry. So for alkanes, we're going to add the ane name on the end. Alkanes all have this, so we know that they are alkanes. Methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, hexane, heptane, and octane. And this is known as a homologous series. So this is the first alkane. It's only got 1 carbon and 4 hydrogens, so it's called methane. The next one has got 2 carbons, 1, 2, so it's C2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hydrogens, so it's ethane. This one has 1, 2, 3 carbons all in a straight line, so it is C3H8 and it is propane. So that's how you name straight chain alkanes. You just count the number of carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's an ane for alkane. There's branch chains. So this molecule here has a CH3 branch. So the longest chain is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's butane. So that's the parent part is butane. And then it's got a methyl group, which is the branch. So it's methylbutane. Okay, so the steps for naming that I'm going to go through are to find and name the longest continuous carbon chain, identify and name the groups attached to this chain, number the chain consecutively, starting at the end nearest to an attached group, designate the location of each attached group by an appropriate number and name, and then assemble the name, listing the attached groups in alphabetical order. Note that if you have more than one methyl group, it might be dimethyl, trimethyl, or tetramethyl, and so you don't count those little names at the front when you're alphabetizing. So those are the steps we're going to go through, and I'm going to show you some examples. So branch chains are used alkyl groups, like the methyl group I mentioned. So we use a YL instead of a ANE at the end, and they have 1 less hydrogen. So methane becomes methyl. It's a methyl group, and it's got 1 less hydrogen because it's going to join onto the chain. We've got ethyl, it's got 2 carbons, 1, 2, and propyl's got 1, 2, 3 carbons, so it's propyl. So this is an example of how to name a branch chain. So first of all, you count the longest chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we know it's pentane, so it's got pentane there, and it's got this branch, so it's got a methyl group. But if we named it like this, it would be 4-methylpentane. But we want to number the carbons, so we have the smallest number. So we're going to get rid of those numbers which are incorrect. We're not going to number them from the other end. So we're going to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so then that's how you get the methyl group is attached to carbon 2, so it's 2-methylpentane. And between numbers and letters, we use a dash. So it's 2-methylpentane. If there are 2 branches and they're identical, so in this example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's pentane, and there's 2 methyl groups attached. So it's dimethyl, and they're both attached to carbon 2. So we do 2,2-dimethylpentane. That's how we named that molecule according to IUPAC rules. If there are 2 different branches, so this is the same molecule, but this time there is an ethyl group here and a methyl group here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is still the longest chain, so it's still pentane. But we're going to count from here. 1, 2. So these are both attached to carbon 2. So we've got 2 ethyl. Ethyl comes first because it runs on the alphabet. So there's the E for ethyl and the M for methyl. So the ethyl group goes first. 2 ethyl because it's attached to carbon 2. 2-methylpentane. If there are different groups at different positions, so this pentane, so we've still got pentane 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is our longest carbon chain. We've got a methyl group attached to carbon 2 and an ethyl group attached to carbon 3. So it's 3, this one here is 3 ethyl, there's our ethyl group, and there's our methyl group, 3 ethyl, 2-methylpentane. If the branch only goes in, can only go in one position, for example, this is butane. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the longest chain, and this is our methyl group. And the way it's drawn is attached to carbon 3. So the way maybe you would think to name it 3-methylbutane. However, it is exactly the same if I number it from this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be 2-methylbutane. So this one is actually numbered wrongly. We'll rub that out. So we should be numbering it so the numbers are as small as possible. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but there's actually only one place that the methyl group can go. So we can name it just methylbutane. Okay, this is an example of where the branches start to get a little bit more complicated. So if we look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can get a 5-carbon chain that way. But if we count from here, 1, 2, we've got 2 there, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we go along here, then we can get a chain of 6. And so that would be our parent group. So this is actually a hexane molecule. I'm just going to rub out those numbers. Okay, so we could number it this way, and then we would have methyl groups, one here and one here. Okay, our parent chain is 6, which is there. So that would be 3,5 dimethylhexane. However, it's a bit of a trick here. If we have to check if we number the other way, so we number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 2 carbons there. then it would be 2,4-dimethylhexane, and that would be correct. So it's not a pentane. The longest chain is 6. It's not 2,4. It is 2,4. It is not 3,5. Because 2,4 is smaller than 3,5. Okay, so that one's quite tricky, but you need to try and get these numbers as small as possible. The main thing was to find the longest parent chain, even if it goes around the corner. So to summarize again, find and name the longest continuous carbon chain. Then identify and name the groups attached to the chain. Number the chain consecutively, starting at the end nearest to the attached group to make the number as small as possible. Designate the location of each attached group by an appropriate number and name, and then assemble the name, listing the attached groups in alphabetical order. Remember to just ignore the di, tri, and tetra when you're doing the alphabetizing. So that's how to name straight chain and branch chain alkanes.